Kicking off today's show, let's talk about those eyebrow-raising poll numbers from CNN. Lindsay, did you catch that their own pollster reported Trump leading Democrats by 8 points on the economy? That's despite months of critical coverage and, frankly, some pretty unpopular tariff policies.
I did, and honestly, it's wild. You'd think after all the trade drama, the stock market roller coasters, and the not-so-popular tariffs, the Democrats would have a comfortable lead. But here we are, voters still trust Trump more on economic issues. The branding seems to stick, even when the policies don't.
Right, and it's not just CNN's poll. Ipsos found GOP up by 12 points on economic planning. So, what gives? Are voters just ignoring the actual results in favor of the narrative, or is something deeper at play here?
I think it's a mix. There's definitely some magic in the GOP's messaging. They've convinced people they're better with the economy, even when the data like rising unemployment tells a more complicated story. It's almost like a brand loyalty situation, you know?
Let's dig into that disconnect. On paper, the Biden administration had a 3.4% unemployment rate in 2023. Now, it's ticked up to 4.2%. But public sentiment seems stuck on the idea that things just aren't improving. Where's this feeling coming from?
It's the classic, do you feel better than last year? Test. Even if the numbers are okay, people are spooked by inflation and everyday prices. When folks go to the grocery store, sticker shock overshadows any government report. It's a gut check, not a spreadsheet analysis.
That's spot on. Inflation's like a recurring nightmare lingering long after the worst is over. Even if price increases slow down, people remember the pain. So when tariffs make things pricier, then ease up, it feels like a roller coaster they didn't sign up for.
Exactly, and when voters see the GOP responding at least on the surface, it makes them feel heard, even if the solutions are messy. Democrats, meanwhile, are struggling to cut through with their own message about economic wins.
Speaking of messaging, let's talk about marketing. Trump is basically the Steve Jobs of political branding. No matter what's actually happening, he sells the idea that he can fix it. Why are Democrats having such a hard time competing in this arena?
Democrats seem stuck in a cycle of critiquing Trump without offering clear alternatives. It's like watching a commercial that only trashes the competition after a while. You wonder, okay, but what are you selling me? Voters want specifics, not just anti-Trump rhetoric.
Totally. It's almost as if the GOP's campaign is a blockbuster movie trailer, while the Democrats are reading the fine print. People tune out details if the headline isn't compelling. The left needs a punchy, positive story that resonates beyond policy wonks.
Absolutely. And until they crack that code, Trump's simple slogans and big promises will keep winning Heart 7 if the reality is a bit more complicated behind the curtain.
Let's pivot to big government spending. Republicans hammer this point. Democrats mean more regulation, higher costs, and a business-unfriendly climate. Are these criticisms fair or just effective PR?
It's a bit of both. There's truth to tighter regulations, just look at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. But Republicans often spin it as if every Democrat is plotting to drown small businesses in red tape, when really, some regulation is about protecting consumers and leveling the playing field.
Right, and studies show that when regulations go too far, it can stifle startup growth and innovation. But on the flip side, too little regulation led to the 2008 financial meltdown. It's all about balance, but the GOP narrative makes nuance sound boring.
Exactly. Voters remember the pain points like higher utility bills or job losses when factories close more than abstract policy debates. And Republicans have gotten very good at tying those pains directly to big government.
Let's unpack tariffs. Trump's tariff plans have been called incoherent, sometimes on, sometimes off, sometimes aimed squarely at China. Yet, he keeps that economic trust. Are tariffs actually working, or just a political football tossed around for votes?
Tariffs are tricky. They're like antibiotics, sometimes necessary, but overuse can cause more harm than good. Targeting China for national security reasons has some merit, but blanket tariffs often just raise prices for American consumers. The polling shows voters don't love tariffs, but they trust Trump's instincts on the economy overall.
It's wild, right? Even when Trump's own advisors contradict each other on tariffs, the general perception is he's doing something. Maybe it's the action itself that reassures people, not the details or results.
Exactly. People crave decisive leadership, especially during uncertainty. Sometimes, it's less about the policy and more about projecting strength even if the playbook changes every week.
Now, let's look at the numbers behind the narratives. Unemployment dipped under Biden, but wage growth hasn't kept up with inflation, leaving many feeling squeezed. Who's telling that story better, Democrats or Republicans?
Republicans have nailed the art of pointing out wage stagnation while glossing over the complexity. Democrats tout low unemployment but struggle to address why paychecks don't stretch as far. It's like arguing over a half-full glass, depends which side you're on.
And the data is nuanced. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, real wages have edged up recently, but not enough to offset 2 years of price hikes. Voters notice their take-home pay more than any jobs report.
Exactly. Until the average person feels a difference in their wallet, statistics won't change minds. Both sides need a reality check and a little humility in their messaging.
Let's dive into tax policy. The GOP pushes for lower taxes, promising prosperity for all. But there's plenty of debate. Has trickle-down ever really worked, or is it just a catchy slogan?
The data isn't kind to trickle down. The Congressional Research Service found that major tax cuts for the wealthy haven't sparked sustained job growth or wage increases for the middle class. It's like watering the tree's leaves and hoping the roots get a drink.
Great analogy. Yet, lower taxes remain popular, at least in theory. People love the idea of keeping more of their paycheck, even if the benefits are uneven. Democrats argue for raising taxes on corporations and the rich to fund social programs, but that's a tough sell in some districts.
Exactly. And when you factor in loopholes and tax havens, some corporations pay less than the average worker. It feels unfair, and that resentment is real. But the debate rages on equity versus growth, redistribution versus reward.
Let's talk healthcare. The proposed big beautiful bill could mean Medicaid cuts for millions, especially the working poor. What's the real-world impact if those safety nets disappear?
It's catastrophic for many. Without Medicaid, people with chronic illnesses face bankruptcy from medical bills. A Harvard study found that medical debt is the top cause of personal bankruptcy in the U.S., so these cuts hit hard, especially in rural and low-income communities.
That's sobering. The GOP frames these cuts as efficiency, but the human cost is steep. Meanwhile, Democrats struggle to defend expansions as fiscally responsible. It's a classic clash: budget hawks versus social safety net advocates.
Exactly, and it's not just numbers on a pageant's real lives. When healthcare gets yanked, people notice fast. No amount of spin can soften that blow for families on the edge.
Shifting gears, let's debate corporate taxes. Should big businesses pay more, or will that just drive jobs overseas and stifle innovation?
There's a fine line. The GAO found that 60% of U.S. corporations paid no federal taxes in recent years. That sounds outrageous, especially when individual workers pay a significant chunk. But set taxes too high, and companies may relocate or cut jobs. It's a balancing act.
Right. And the argument is if corporations prosper, everyone prospers. But when the tax burden falls mostly on workers, resentment grows. Maybe the answer is closing loopholes rather than just hiking rates.
Absolutely. A fairer system could fund infrastructure and education without hurting competitiveness. But good luck getting consensus tax reform is the political equivalent of a root canal.
Let's wrap up with the philosophical clash. Collective good versus individual gain. Should the economy serve everyone, or should we reward risk-takers above all?
It's the age-old American debate. Some believe we're strongest when everyone has a safety net, and a fair shout t'others say we thrive when entrepreneurs and innovators keep more of their rewards. It's not just policy, it's identity.
And culturally, we swing like a pendulum. In crises, we rally around the collective. In boom times, we celebrate the self-made. Maybe the answer lies somewhere in the messy middle, protecting the vulnerable without stifling ambition.
Well said. If we can blend opportunity with security, maybe we'll finally have an economy that feels as good as the headlines say it is. Until then, expect the debate and the pollsto keep surprising us.